Bago TAMAPTA Victor Allen.
Ubanga Debbie Gordon Rubin.
The top Quaptok CBC Kamanalak Tichu at 35 New Kearney. They can if talk allowing Missy Chiki McPihukang it. The Repton Alec to tap quad, Alunag Tahoe Luak allowing moon. The brown no Poctar in Nicking around Octonic, Pagmupagalokanokilanga. The brown no Pungalak to in Nicknalak to Okafinik.
As you've all heard, CBC is celebrating 35 years over the airwaves in the north. It was first known as CHAK, short for Channel Aklavik. Tonight we'll take a look back and hear back about how it was then, and you'll meet the people you listen to every day. This is CBC Western Arctic's location here in Inuvik. But in 1947, when the Royal Canadian Corps of Signals first began airing the station, it was located in Aklavik. The people who did the broadcasting of the programs were all volunteers then. Peter Thrasher and Tom Ross Sr. remember how it was.
It wasn't very powerful, but it was strong enough to be heard as far as Fairbanks anyway. Because I remember one Christmas there when Cliff Moore was listening to some different radios on New Year's Eve, and so was Fairbanks was listening to some different radio stations. They caught on to each other. They crossed each other on their waves. And they were listening. I heard the announcer from Fairbanks saying that we could hear the people in Slavic shooting off New Year's. We could hear the guns that was outside the station. And Cliff Moore was announcing that. And Cliff was announcing also to the announcer in Fairbanks, telling him that also Happy New Year.
The station ran on, it paid for itself on request program, 25-cent request program. That's where it says it paid for itself.
Who was paid and who wasn't?
It was the equipment that was being bought. See, the equipment was the money that we put in a request for, 25 cents a request, and that's sometimes you get 10 or 20 requests on one record. Well, that's 20 requests, well, that's $5. And you get as many as that on one request. I mean, it accumulates. And it paid for the, like I say, it paid for the equipment that CHAK broadcast on.
In 1957, CHAK moved to Inuvik. Wally Firth is the announcer-operator for Blue Ice Afternoon, the familiar voice you listen to every day. He was one of the first full-time employees and remembers the changeover from CHAK to CBC.
It was a gradual thing in as much as old CHAK in Aklavik. It was old CHAK. They had, like other stations used to do, not only in the north but elsewhere. I remember CFYK Yellowknife. They used to call themselves CFYK Voice of the Golden North. And then CHAK were your friendly voice of the Arctic, and that sort of thing. Well, that one was, that belonged to Aklavik, the volunteer station. The station which opened here inherited the call letter CHAK. So we had that, but then CBC had a, what you called, it was part of the queue system. You know, when the CBC program was on, the announcer would say, "This is CBC Radio, the Trans-Canada Network," for one. That meant there was time for a break, you see? So that's when the local announcer would come on with a identity of the station or something like that. Then they changed it shortly thereafter. This is CBC Radio, the Northern Service. I remember that one. And this is the Dominion Network. Trans-Canada Network was another one. And then people started adding the close to the reporting, like a news item or something like that. The reporter would say, "This is John Doe, CBC Inuvik," or that sort of thing. So this gradually, that's the way that came about. And then over the time, CHAK Inuvik sort of got lost in that, in those changes. So that's how that one came about. But there were quite a number of the ideas of programming from old CHAK that came with those call letters, and so there was not a big change in local programming. The bigger change, of course, was carrying current news items right on the hour. They tried hard to do that right from the very beginning using shortwave. wasn't always successful because conditions and reception was very bad a lot of times. You'd put on you'd put on the shortwave for the news, there'd be nothing there but noise. And I understand one time a person put on the news, and it was very, very clear and good sound and all of these kinds of things. The only thing was it was Radio Moscow and not CBC. So those kind of things happen.
Ann Crossman is the area manager for CBC Western Arctic. She explains some of the day-to-day work involved in radio broadcasting.
We do a lot of programming here with few people. And we ask people here to not only be on the air and do the interviews and do the language work that is required, but we also ask them to do the operating and pick the music and do some writing, and so it's a big job we ask people to do. And I think we're all very pleased at the quality of material that goes on the air. And it's like everything else, you can always improve, but gradually over the years, that level of journalism is improving, and it's bound to.
CBC Western Arctic Radio celebrated their 35 years of broadcast in January. The equipment was set up in small family hall here in Inuvik, and like years ago in Aklavik, they broadcasted live for the day.
They've gotten quite tame over the last few years, but there sure have been some gems. Well, we all know about them. You're not getting older, you're getting better, and all the variations of that over the last 10 years. Or the famous, the caribou are coming over the hills, don't tell anyone. Or even, meet the plane, the package is for you, code word.
Teresa Lalonde, who now hosts the noon show, grew up in Inuvik listening to the many voices over the years. She says she wouldn't be happy doing anything else.
I really like being on air and playing music and reading announcements and talking to people on the air. I think that if I wasn't on an on-air role, if I was in the background, I don't think I would be nearly as happy. It's the talking right to the public, and I really like that. And, giving them stories about things happening, talking to people in the communities about stuff that they're doing. I really like that. And just, hopefully every once in a while, someone out there will snicker or whatever if I make a joke on air, and that kind of thing I really like the most.
And that's the CBC Regional News. Thank you very much, Tanya. This is the first time that I can reach out and touch you and shake your hand after the news. Usually you're behind the glass in another studio. It's 24 minutes away from 1 o'clock. You're listening to a special radio noon coming out of Small Family Hall.
Esther McLeod co-hosts Tusavik with Dorothy Airy. In the days of CHAK, people could go on air and send their news or message in their native tongue. Nantay in Gwich'in and Tusavik in Inuvialuit are the two native language programs which carry on this tradition.
Ulami isa kaptamaw nga. Pagabigaliw ba? Magkataktura ka talo it kanaya ko ka. It kanaya ni kamaya taktura nik. Iyan ni makuning makpara ni nga computer min pekehuru. Huli taktura buk tabo nga i-video ke. Luto ako nakahitay na kolekta ak takalahurugod inilanin. Ulami hulitam na kolekta ak te mo hulugo. Tabait kanaya hurug tayo na.
Kunigalan ka kuwe huwit habakawit CBC.
Tabraki habakawit ko na kuwe naktok. Inuit na kurod man habakatibok.
Inuit ukalaw di hubatin kumit nagbuwin inuit nalagtwa kami sa amin ni.
Magkakita nito na kangakayaya ta. Utok hanasawit tabrak kalaw tira kagati ukay ko parago kay nalagtwa sa chihukam nuk kangakanyakihud kangakanyakihud nalagtwa sa chihuruk to sa amin.
35 ni kahin anniversary kape hunik inuit apek raga batin nalagtwa ni gluti.
Ikpakaraki wa 35 ni kan nibilin man CPC kan ni family hall may mikirami nalagtwa sa chiragud ubulok nalugo. Inyo jahe o apekero Allah kabuk inyo mamane hibone habagurat kanole himmere magan CBC CHK hugalo kami ma CBC munon man Pilidelio Victralan lapa herla kapi kasilawing may ma CHK kutay na okaktogili.
Local music and live entertainment were played throughout the day. That was part of their celebration.
Now I see our young people dying with no place to call their own. I hear our elders crying. Our people are on their own. But I see a nation emerging amongst our griefs and pain. We survived all their purging and will be as one again. The elders could still recall the day they stole our land. It was a black day for our people, and many are since long gone.
But also I worked in radio too in a sense because I worked as a radio operator with Hudson Bay Company, and I used to work station XKA-21 McPherson, and we would tie into with the network of the Army Signal to doing telegraph work. And so all the messages from the government and the missions and the people and the fur traders and so on would send telegrams back and forth, and we looked after that in McPherson. Yeah, but we had to use the Morse code. Yeah, so I had to learn the Morse code to get on the air. So I went on the air when I was just a kid doing that. So I've always had an interest in radio, and I suppose I'll always have, because I do such thing as listening to shortwave radio. Again, when you listen to a radio a lot, you hear ideas and you hear other people's on-air style and all of that kind of thing. I suppose it influences you quite a bit.
Christmas time, my little Christmas message, we all the behind the scenes people get to actually talk on the radio at Christmas time. And what I wished our audience at that time, well, what I said was that it's a season for giving. And I wanted to thank all our audience for all the support that they've given us over the years, because we can't do this without them. Our audience gives us feedback. We always welcome that. And our audience is also the place where we go for our interviews and for our information. So we couldn't do this without all the folks out there. And I'm very grateful.
Uwamakwa tuyoktok ko yung lugit tamani uwani nalaktok to na lupit kuruat ihagkabut tabrahi tok tamakko ko yung lugit inutay ka ni Chris Mata tawduktok tsilot tabrapto ka nyo tap ko tamani ko yung lugit tok tamani kuliaktok to tabrap nopag kuliaktok to ko tawdukto laki ulukak to mi ingilakanehat Elsie Nilgak.
We've been receiving some letters from people in the communities. We enjoy reading about your thoughts and concerns. Keep writing in. We'd also like to thank all the people who helped camera the Christmas greetings over the holidays in the communities. We'd like to wish you all a healthy 1993 year. Now we'll leave you with some stories of traditional knowledge told to you by an elder from Holman, Elsie Nilgak. We hope you enjoy the show.
Inuit Inuvialuit takayong hinani awi waktun naktot opinngi waktun awi waktun naktot takayong hinani ma awi waktun at takyokotik kayak tokotik gubiyak tokotik yakalukyokotik ingna ko takangitut tatiga ingna ko takangitok angat angagado ay gado ingna ko takangitut kayak tokoting na takyok paktun naktot pay paukotik hitaw upin nga nganit imata kayong hinani natakyok tunoy tibluti kuyak tong nakitiyo kuyak tong naking madlo kuyak tokotik ikalukyok kotik ta kayong hinani ilani luni ni matat tinod kanit tunod upin nga nguningani ikalukyok takotik iyok takotik ima kakibakakotik kaputi kakotik tema iliyok pagtun naktud ilat ka ayok ka inuit kang riyong mitawa na kawil na mahala ring mailihimayat ka tema ahid awyak ngamik natasyok pagtut hila anong kayarangan natasyok tut paktut ima angit kauga ngamik tadyatu initut kayait bukiwaktut uki takakyaktut ukohiya kakyaktut uki umakin miming no nakikakyaktut uki takakyaktut na nareakto kaya mingi uki ukat ahitay maaw yang takto derangat takiwa derangat ublun ilangan ni ano kayang mingangat kayaktok kutik takayong hinani aw yiyo aliyah pagtut ima tadyatut daw aliyah naktok ima takayong hinani aw yiyo ni ahitaw ukiyak kalang mingangat ano nga aliyok kutik ang nat ukiyo mi atok-tak kaming mi ukiyak kangan ni aw yami imanat ng mikhanaki magkakalutik awatak paliyok kutik ukohiyok kutik kawiyat katahapkuan ima ikalukyo kamik pipiliyok dun ikaluk kamik ahitaw ilagok kakangat ta ima piroplugin ukiyo mi ikaluit ikalugyuanik tayok pagay nakikadik hitalbungahin ukiyak kamutikilang madang nadima ukohiyak kaya ngaming namakira ngaming ukohiyak tingyo namut piroblugit hukulayak hugit inuwaktun naktutema natitaw na kahit natin amin nun ukotik hangitut pauktok hugit poktok ungerdali hugit nakikait kin mimig ima pokulayak hugit nung namun hawlugin ukiyong matpiyak hugit talwahin ukiyakang ngungangan ima Samtay pangong nakigangat ang nanahid o puyo kaming ni Ukiyomi. Nadak kaming nulo ay paming nulo inming nulo o nakakpagtun o puyo ni Ukiyomi at okta kaming ni Mekakpagtun. Ang utito o kiyakakpat at okta kaming ni Kubiyali o kutikday maniliina at kaming nulo Kubiyan ni Kawagpagtugaloy Kubiyang maktakawin utit. Ay mga kubiyanan na yakawit daw o kiyakakpan at yatik daw paawayaw mo na atok tatik ima aliktong pang mata aliktong narayakawin hawag kawin hanayakawin at tuwin nakayatakip gawin talba o kiyakakong mat inakpagtunang mat inirangamik Ukiyak kamit daw Inuit nung naapid kaluak tidlog takayok daw ano kaya kami o kuwak piyang manila natikayok pamiyot daw ilangin Inuit angutin nutag kakayok kotik adi anak piyak kawiyot katahapkuhan iwulakpat Inuit pitkuhian ang himanginap ko ang ayok kam pitkuhian Inuit yuhian nunami kawiyihimaya ka unik kadukaran lagtaka ahit daw kam ukyat kang matatimil kakailutik takayong hinanong nagangamit day matawang na nareakto kaming nik na nakitsakto kaya ming ni Ukiyumi na nareakto kaya ming ni na nareakto di kaming nik daw ang utin hanayak pang miyot daw ang nalulog daw ang utin atuwag kay nik daw hanayak pang miyot ang utin Ukiyumi na nareakto pang miyot utin yung natasayok
Her name is June Ukalep.
Yung